Alright, people, welcome to the stream of Rauta's February 2026. Seems like there are some technical problems. Something was not, going right straight from the beginning. So let's hope it's working properly this time. I don't know what's going on. There was a little bit of a hiccup, and that's why we're a couple of minutes late. Anyway, once again, the topic is very much questions and answers, and of course, some beers. So, welcome to the stream. There is no actual timeline how long this should take or last for or whatever. But I'll tell you this much: in 3 hours, I have to be in bed for my wake up call. And if this finishes bit before that, which is very likely, then I will be doing another game stream, just a continuation to that. I have a new game, old game, but new game in the sense of streaming, which I'm gonna start today. And the streaming will obviously continue with that after this real monthly stream. And in case what you wonder why this is February stream, the thing here is all my weekends after this one for February are booked. I'm either traveling or doing a gig outside the city, so in case I wanted to make sure I can do a February stream on a Saturday night instead of weekdays, which won't really work for me doing streams, this was the only date possible. So I decided I will start right after midnight, and then technically speaking, at least in Finland, it is already February. So in other countries you might still have a little bit January going on, but in terms of Finnish time zone and all that stuff, it's already February. So the 1st of February is here, 2026. Welcome to the stream. Prepare your questions. I will get your answers. And now it's time to get a beer. What we have here is an empty beer glass. And mind you, it's not even 100% clean. What happened? Both of my Maulasepat glasses were not actually, cleansed after the previous session. But I decided just put those beers outside. It's something like minus 15, minus 18 maybe outside. So they will be very quickly very cold. They will be freezing if I leave them out there for the time being. And the reason why this came very last minute was I was actually recording some vocal parts for upcoming release, so I barely arrived home like 10 minutes before starting the stream. So there it is. Once again, if you want to make sure your answers will be answered by me, make sure to tag myself. I will give you a little bit of a example. Make sure that you tag Rauta Metal like this, then I will see it highlighted and all that stuff. Now time to get the first beer. Be right back. So I hope everybody is doing fine, and I hope the audio is fine and all that stuff. We'll start with Mallasepat beers. Once again, they're supporting whatever Rauta is doing with these streams, and they are getting this very fantasy looking like thing here. Cloud Strider. This is, as you can see, NAPA, New England Pale Ale, Superdelic. And this is 6.5 strong, so medium strong, I could say. So let's pour it in the glass and get your comments and all answered. So here it is to you and me once again. A little bit foam, let that get away and all that stuff. So how are you people doing? What's up with your February? Here I can say it's cold. It's somewhat busy with the band department and all, but other than that, it seems like everything is going fine. Thank you so much, Rob Hellfire, for your donation. Getting a little bit of love from Canada. Cheers to you, mate. In case you wonder why would people donate money to dork looking like me, I guess some of you old timers know that this money gotten from you, which I'm robbing like a Robin Hood here, is put into Rauta Travels, which means more interviews and all, which is something that I want to actually talk to you because it seems like, unlike typical start of the year, we're actually having some interviews coming up. I mean, usually between, say, December and February, there is nothing really happening. And the reason is very simple. Most of the interviews happen at gigs and mostly festivals. So by the time it's already, say, December, all the festival stuff is pretty much published and there is nothing going on. There are very few gigs around December, January, February, around the region I live. So there are only some random ones, which means usually around 3 months, around the change of the year. They're very, very, inactive, passive even, meaning there is not just much going on. That's where Rauta Travels come into play, because sometimes in order to get those interviews done, we have to travel. And by we, I mean me and my camera person. Now, this year we've been a little bit luckier in terms of gigs, local ones and all. So already started Rock the Waves cruise in middle of January. I tried to get Jorn, the Norwegian hard rock / heavy metal vocalist, for interview, but our schedules didn't work out. So I was unlucky with that. However, the interview that came out yesterday by Toni Törrönen, who is a kind of a famous Finnish metal promoter, we had a long chat with him, and I think it's an interesting alternative for a lot of band interviews, because he gets to say a lot about how festivals happen, how bands are selected, and what's his history with being a promoter. After all, he has been doing a huge amount of events over the years where lots of black metal, death metal, and beyond have been, playing. So something different instead of your typical band interviews. Now, next in line, hopefully out there next Friday, or this coming Friday, is Cannibal Accident. Quality band from Finland playing death grind. So quite different, but also made by some veterans in the scene. And following up from that, we have Death Worship, which I got to interview this week. So that should be coming out in 2 weeks. A black death metal band from Canada. Basically very much blasphemy worship, and actually Ryan Förster of Death Worship is also part of Blasphemy lineup, as you might know. And then as a bonus, which I didn't have even prepared, we have Fides Inversa from Italy, a black metal band. So already one interview out for this year, and 3 more to come right away. Now fast forward to next weekend, where I will be with my own band, Nightside, to play at Nordic Metal Cruise. We already agreed with Mika Luttinen of Impel Nazarene to do this Impel Nazarene interview. Finally, it's something that I've been chasing for many years now, because before Rauta started in 2016, I had a video interview with Mika, but ever since he hasn't been so sure whether or not he wants to do one with Rauta. But I met him a couple of years ago at Nordic Metal Cruise, where he was, as a guest, seeing bands like Hell Reaper, and I asked him if we could do this interview at some point and we could really do it Rauta style. And he said yes, and now it's time for us to meet, and so I'm really proud if and when we get that Impel Nazarene interview done. So thanks for everybody who have been helping with donations and whatnot. Those make it possible. I mean, local interviews are possible even without any kind of money needed. there is no travel expenses when it comes to local interviews, but it still helps a lot, especially now when we are going outside my city. Now, after February, there will be a few weeks break before something new happens. Oh yeah, and then before Impel Nazarene, we have actually Death Metal Legends Sentinex, which is supposed to happen next Tuesday. So a few days before Impel Nazarene. So what I'm saying here, we have roughly interviews now for 4 weeks or 5 weeks. So by the time we're done with these, Turku Saatanale Festival is supposed to take place in my home city in mid-March, so still about 6 weeks away. And at Turku Saatanale, I hope to do a few more interviews. Nothing has been agreed yet, but it's usually the kind of a festival where we get to do something like 4 interviews maybe. And when you fast forward from that, it's already April. And April, Rauta is going to Inferno, Oslo for 4 days. And that should yield us some interviews as well. But at this moment, even accreditations, that is press tickets, are not even dealt with. So we should not go too far in the future when it comes to doing these interviews. But I hope to bring you interesting interviews nonetheless, both from Finland and other parts of the world. So now going to answer your questions once again. If you want to make sure that I will answer your questions, please tag me like just Daniel did here, so I will see them more easily. Rob Hellfire, I'm happy to hear you're finally getting better. It sucks if you've been sick so long. That really is so consuming, and I mean it just sucks big time. So happy to hear you're getting better. Daniel is asking, weird seeing Kaivum split up right after such great release. Any thoughts? Well, to be honest, it got me by surprise. I didn't see that happening because the band has been active and getting more attention and all that stuff. But so often these split ups have absolutely nothing to do with releasing quality material. In essence, how I see it as someone who has been in the bands for over 30 years, or at least started my first band in 1994 and all, how I see these split ups, because I've been in the bands that have been split up. The thing here is, usually it comes to when the core members of the band are gone. They might be uninterested to continue, and when that happens, the rest of the guys are like, okay, fuck it, we're done, it's time to move on, let's disband and start doing something else. So a typical band with like 4 or 5 members usually are basically more or less built on 1 or 2 main characters, the core of the band, if you will, the songwriters, the soul. And when one of those people, decide to quit, or I don't know, God's forbid, die, that's when things start collapsing big time. Sometimes all you need is this main composer, for instance, to move another country or another city, and that's when the bands kind of start, falling down. So there are multiple possible reasons for Kaivum split up, but also this question remains, will it be final split up? Because there are bands which just kind of split up for a moment, a year, 2, whatever, 10 years, and then they come back. Sometimes band splits are more like going in on hiatus instead of really, disbanding. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. What again? I'm happy to hear that you met Saur and Andy, and like I said, Andy is indeed a great person, a really nice man. Then what do you have? Levtahor was asking, did I listen to the new Funeral album that came out via Out of Dungeon? Yes, I did, and if I remember correctly, my Funeral review will be out on Monday. Yes. That's correct. So on Monday, my thoughts on the new Funeral album, also unboxing the album and all, is taking place. So you can just hear my thoughts about that at that point. The Funeral album is technically speaking a new album because it features some new material, but also old stuff from Kristallnacht. But lyrics are rewritten, and I will make some other notes in that review as well. Okay, once again, if you want to make sure that I answer your questions, please tag me, just like Danieth and Levdahar did. I try to read your comments, but sometimes there are just too many for me to see them all. And talking about Havukruunu, I finally got their latest album for review just about a week ago. Will take a few months for me to get it out, but it is there on the review pile. Rötkösen Jussi is asking who is playing at Turku Saatanalle. I mean, the lineup is pretty much announced, so there it is. Havukruunu, basically it's a crown made of fir tree parts. Havu is like those tiny little needles what you have on fir trees and spruce and you know pines. So basically those tiny little needle like leaves, if you call them that. Well, yeah, Daniath, if that's Kaivum's official statement, then I was correct. Just people relocating means that sometimes bands like that will, you know, disband. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about it too much because you know people like that who are very very much creative, they always found new bands, and then things will kind of continue. What about other things lately? What's been happening? I guess I've been bringing those gaming streams back to life. I finished Assassin's Creed Shadows a few weeks ago. I think after the latest stream. No, I might have been actually before that because I did the I finished the game before New Year's Eve. Yeah, so it's been probably a month now. I've also been seeing watching some of the late TV series, some quality stuff like The Morning Show, season 4. Really good drama, by the way. Some movies, but it seems mostly I've been spending my screen time outside work and Rauta watching NFL and a little bit of gaming lately. But I encountered a problem, you know, with the game streams, meaning that if I want to stream from Xbox, I cannot do it on YouTube, which was supposed to be possible with Lightstream app, but didn't happen. So those who have been wondering where my streams with gaming went, I have been streaming on Twitch because I've been playing on Xbox. But like mentioned earlier today when this stream was started, I will bring back those PlayStation YouTube streams, so they will be back. However, I will be also traveling in February for about 2 weeks, meaning I will be less online with streams. There will be these, you know, daily videos and all, but not so much streaming for a couple of weeks. Hello, Zach from Arizona. How are you doing, man? Are you enjoying the warmth? Unlike we Finns, because it's very much freezing grounds these days. Um, Sudantaiva was asking if I have some respect for Nightwish. What's the situation regarding them in Finland? Will they skip the metal scene? Well, I have respect for Nightwish. I mean, they have been pushing the boundaries when it comes to creating bombastic, epic, cinematic metal music. And they are good, I mean, great live band. And while bands like Nightwish is definitely not everybody's cup of tea, they just happen to be, one of the things what I like. Because, first of all, I have liked this kind of epic cinematic kind of symphonic metal for a long time. I'm talking about decades. For me, it pretty much started with Therion back in 1995 with the album Lepaka Cliffoth. And that was the kind of a metal band that introduced me to opera singing in metal. I'm not a fan of opera singing, but how Therion did it back in the days, I was like, wow, this is some really good stuff. You could kind of a blend in together occult stuff and kind of extreme metal aesthetics, but still be very much like symphonic and kind of a epic. Now, Nightwish is obviously a little bit more mainstream when it comes to that, and they do things differently. Now, however, I do have also a soft spot for movie soundtracks and video game soundtracks, which I have been buying on CD for almost as long as metal ones. So for me, Nightwish is kind of a combining some of the interesting parts, bringing together the magic of movies and movie soundtracks to symphonic metal with lots of talent. Great vocalists, great songwriting, very strong, bombastic production value. There is just something that makes Nightwish click. It's not very typical band for me to like, but I mean, I've seen them live more than once. And or actually, I was thinking maybe once just properly. No, anyway, my point here is, uh, while it's not a typical band for me to like, there is a lot of respect because I know these guys in the band. They are very creative minds and very talented. They know what they do. They have like one of the best drummers in metal drummers in Finland. And of course, Tuomas Holopainen, he's a very talented, very skilled individual creating layers and layers of symphonic metal. And when I interviewed them about 4 years ago for Rauta, it was very interesting because at the same time, they are this kind of a big international band, but they have this Finnish humble, take. So while they could be, and I know, acting like rock stars or whatever with egos floating into space and all that stuff. They were just a couple of friendly guys who were making no fuss about who they are, what they are doing, how much there is success. So obviously I can really respect musicians like that. They are not, pretending to be something they're not. They're just humble, normal, cool individuals. So all the kudos to them. Evil Feast is a band that I haven't never been listening much, so uh, there is something that I need to patch in. But as far as I remember, Evil Feast had some good stuff, but yeah, I cannot comment the whole musical career much because I've only heard very little. And yeah, Rob Hellfire, on average, I do like Therion more than Nightwish. I'm just more like comparing them to one another because both of these bands are quite unique. Saludos, Tristan. Bienvenidas. Bienvenido. I'm not sure how to actually say it in Spanish. And I guess today, as any other day, would be Good to mention that we have new Annihilators album out. And today, earlier, just before I came home for this stream, we actually recorded vocals for one cover song, which will be included later on with Annihilators. So it seems an interesting year for me in the sense that third Annihilators album is now out, and then we will later on focus on creating third Nightside album, and of course we have a couple of Nightside events, gigs coming up. One next weekend and one a little bit later in the spring. So for me it will be an interesting year. Also, Nightside is celebrating 30th anniversary this year. And that's pretty much of it. So lots of cool things happening for me in terms of the band. And since Satanic Death Machine is always asking about the intro, the new Steelfest intro starts actually on Monday. So from Monday onwards, the updated Steelfest intro is with all the videos. Hello, Agent Robocock, how are you doing? Zach is asking, Terrorizer Repulsion. I never heard much Repulsion. I see them live, but apart from that, I never got a bond made with Repulsion. So I guess Terrorizer would win in that sense. Rutköse Jussi, yes, we have 2 gigs for Nightside. One next weekend at Nordic Metal Cruise with Impale Nazarene, Swallow the Sun, Rotten Sound, and so forth. And then there will be another one where we'll be celebrating 30th anniversary with Nightside, but I cannot just yet mention the date. I can mention the date a week from now, so it will be coming out soon. Hello, J-Killers. Welcome back to the stream. Rick Danko is asking a very interesting question. What was your first metal band that you totally go nuts, be a fan? In a way, I think Wasp was one of the first one, because I was merely a kid and I was mostly listening to these hard rock bands, Twisted Sister, Mötley Crüe, so forth. But Wasp was heavier and raw and in a way more badass than those other bands. But that was still kid era. Even bigger impact made Metallica when I was teenager. So that was really the band that kind of made my mind go spinning. That was the kind of a band that really showed how fucking good a metal band can be. Both live, but, first on albums, obviously. So Metallica will be always the kind of a one big love, that kind of a first kiss, if you can use that kind of a metaphor, that, really blew my mind. Obviously, after Metallica, I found about death metal, more thrash metal, black metal, and so forth. But I would be lying if I wouldn't give credit to bands like Wasp and Metallica. Yeah, Agent Robocock, it's a weird that what you mentioned, that my real name is Jerry and actually my second name is James, and it's weird because neither my mom or dad, they don't speak English. So once upon a time I obviously asked my parents, like, why do I have these English names since our family is not English? And they're not even speaking English, so what's the story? And my mother would answer me, and I wasn't still sure if she was joking, but she was basically saying, so okay, so we flipped through the Bible. They're not religious, by the way, but hear me out. So we were flipping through the pages of Bible to figure out if there was a name for our kid. We couldn't find anything suitable. So we decided to go for secret agents and outlaws. Now, mind you, I was born in 1975. So back in 1970s, TV had agents. Agents like James Bond, but also Jerry Cotton. And of course, there were outlaws like Jesse James, you know. So I'm thinking maybe my name was really inspired by Hollywood stuff. James Bond and, Jerry Cotton and, the Jesse James kind of archetypes. So maybe I am actually, by name, a kind of a combination of secret agents, outlaws, and cowboys. So that's the best theory I know anyway. I know I'm product of 1970s. I mean, any of us, all of us, we are product of our given time. Like for instance, when the soap opera Bold and Beautiful was running big, like really big in Finnish television in the late 80s or early 90s. I don't know when it peaked, but around early 90s for sure. So soon after that, when the TV series became really big, with characters like Rich Forrester or Brooke, whatever, Brooke Logan, I don't know. Anyway, so soon we would have kids named after Brooke or Ridge. And in fact, there is a gaming company where the CEO is named Celine. And I'm always thinking, what if she was named after Celine Dion? Big ass artist, great voice and all that stuff. Titanic, boom, Celine Dion was suddenly all over the place. So what I'm saying here, there are lots of people who got their names after celebrities. Fuck, I don't know, even Lord of the Rings have inspired people to get, kids' names. So anyway, I'm happy being Jerry. I know it's a very rare name for a Finnish guy, but then again, I also know my personality, me as a combination of what I have done, what I do, what I speak, what kind of things I speak about. I am a unique thing. I mean, this is not to I'm not trying to say I'm special in the sense that I would be better. Obviously, I'm not better than nobody. But I know I'm a kind of a weird combination of things. Like, for example, I'm a super social person. I'm highly active when it comes to talking, socializing, doing sports, listening to music like a crazy person. And I think some people probably think I'm crazy. And I'm probably very annoying to some people because I am what I am. So what I've learned over the years is people often remember me, be it better or the worse. I'm just a kind of a guy who doesn't go out like I don't remember what are you talking about. People remember, for instance, I talk so much, and they will, okay, it's the fucking motor mouth. That guy always speaks so much. I also have very, very many strong opinions, and I have never been afraid to speak about it. And I think some people don't really like me because I have those strong opinions, and I have written them in my reviews and blogs and shit like that. And of course, on Rauta, a lot of people outside Finland have been, okay, this annoying bald metal guy. Who the fuck is this guy? He's so annoying. He has all these opinions. He doesn't know anything, and he is this or he is that. What I'm saying here, I know I'm kind of a weird freak, if you will. I don't give a fuck. I am what I am, and nobody can change that. Even I can't change myself that much, even if I wanted to. So I know I speak a lot, I speak my mind, and I'm this talkative social guy. And yet at the same time I can be super serious about things like philosophy or black metal or, anti-religions. So I know I can be a kind of a prick, but that being said, that's why it fits that I have this unusual name for a Finnish person. So it kind of works as a, warning sign. People will see, okay, this guy has an unusual name. Maybe he's an unusual person too. Let's avoid them. I don't know. I'm too biased to describe myself, but, Yeah. If I got €1 every time someone mentions, hey, motor mouth, I would be a fucking millionaire by now. I kid you not. So many people have been saying motor mouth. So, hey, it is what it is. I can't help that much. All right, getting back to earlier questions. Rutgersen Jussi was asking what bands are in Nordic metal crews. Impel Nazarene, Rotten Sound, Swallow the Sun, and Nightside, and Balance Breach. And thank you, Rob Hellfire, for 30 years of Nightside. Actually, Nightside was founded in February 1996, if I remember correctly. So this February is the month we should be celebrating Nightside of 30 years. Zach was asking, what do I think of Morpheus Descents? I remember that name from decades ago. I think it was quite decent death metal band, but didn't fully click. I don't know if I remember correctly, but that's how I remember things to be. Zach, unfortunately, I'm way too old to be named after Jerry Springer. Jerry Springer didn't really become a thing in Finland until I was already something like teenagers or 20s or whatever. And Satanic Death Machine, once you mentioned that my parents probably like Jerry from Tom and Jerry, a funny thing, I have a cousin who is named Tom. And yes, I am Jerry. So yes, Tom and Jerry were really a thing when we were kids. So there is that connection, but I kind of doubt I was named after a mouse, clever or what otherwise. Yeah, Agent Robocock, that name about Robin, that really is cool. I mean, if I was Robin, named after Robin Hood, I would be fucking proud. So, yeah. I love stories, by the way. Stories behind names, stories behind tattoos. That's why I often also ask bands in their interviews, like, what's the story with your band? Like in Death Worship interview, I was asking about the whole thing. What is Death Worship? Why do you go for such a name? Because it's so dark and kind of a, not evil, but it's not really a happy name. So obviously we talked about that. So yeah, every band name tells a story, and I'm always fascinated about it. Yeah, Celine is a special voice. Rick Dango is asking, do I like dissection? Yes, or dissection? Yes, Storm of the Light's Bane is one of the 10 out of 10 albums for me. But it was the album Somber Lane I think I heard first when I was getting into dissection. That made me very interested in the band. But Storm of the Light's Bane in 1995, I think, that really nailed it. Satanic Death Machine, very, very spotted. That is a Mysticum's Streams of Inferno behind me. I've been going through letter M of my record collection in order to, go through my record collection and to prepare the next episode about of my albums, starting with letter M. So as you can figure out, since we're now at Mysticum, all the Morbid Angels and Metallicas are behind me. So we're very much soon finished with letter M and moving to letter N. Ricardo, salud from Medellin, Colombia, the old drug cartel headquarters of the world. That's great because I think I met quite a few people from Medellin, at Steelfest and all that stuff. Lots of metalheads coming from Medellin. It's pretty interesting. Agent Robocock mentioned if I have heard latest tracks from Croda. I haven't, but I know that they have these folk tunes with their music. Yes, Morbid Maniac. I know about this game called Finnish Cabin. I think it's Finnish Cabin Simulator on PC, but I haven't played it. I know it's supposed to simulate Finnish countryside or more like cabin life in video game format. Agent Robocop, funny that you mentioned it's great melodic black metal dissection. Indeed, it is. But back in the 90s, a lot of people were, not a lot of people, but some people were referring dissection to be more like death black or even melodic death metal. In the same way as early In Flames or Dark Tranquility and the like. So back in the days, it wasn't so given that band like Dissection was black metal. I think that label kind of got a little bit later. As always, if you want to make sure that I'm seeing your comments, please tag me at Rauta Metal. Okay. What is my opinion to Rain Chaos? Rain Chaos is, in my opinion, just an okay album. I bought it blindly when it came to pre-order. I listened to it and I was disappointed. All my comments about Dissection career are in the Dissection worst to best video. So if you want to read or hear more about it, I'll suggest you to take a look at it. I only played Max to Pain 1, 2, and 3, and never played Death to Rights. Ricardo was asking, is there any modern extreme metal genre you don't like it at all? Maybe no genre I don't like at all, but deathcore, among other things, hasn't so far made a big impact on me. Rob Hellfire, I just think that Rain Chaos is too much like old In Flame stuff. It's not really as dark or evil sounding as I want to be. So sometimes I joke Rain Chaos is In Flames with pentagrams. Yeah, Agent Robocock, the thing is, while I'm not allergic to pixel art games, indeed I got too much of that back in the 80s and 90s. You know, I, after all, started my gaming playing with Commodore VIC-20 and Commodore 64. And obviously, during the 80s, a lot of games were pixel art by very definition. That's the era when there was no, 3D graphics or anything like that. So, I prefer in general these today's graphical standards. And also it's not just about graphics. I'm also a big fan of, open world games. And I like graphical details which are not there as, pixel art games. So for me, I mean that was a good era during its time. But these days, I don't want it. It's almost like, well, I was going to say something obscene, but I'm censoring myself here. But since I always hate censoring, I'm gonna say it out loud anyway. I feel that pixel art games are very much like women having, or guys for that matter, huge pubic hair. Go back to the 1970s and look at how the gals look like back in the days. They had huge bushes. So I feel that is not for me. I'm not gonna say it's not. Some people might like that a lot, but it's not for me. I'd rather keep it where it was. What else? Is there potential for Mortuary Drape interview? Well, it really depends if Mortuary Drape is coming to Finland. If they are, then yes, on my behalf. But it's not like I'm gonna fly for Mortuary Drape to their home country because, like said, it's not like Rauta is drowning in money. Um, Miguel is asking here what I think about metalcore as a metal subgenre. Well, first of all, I think it is indeed a metal subgenre. I'm just not a fan of that style. For example, metalcore has, in general, a lot of clean vocals and all that stuff, which was never that much of a my thing. I mean, I never liked, for instance, power metal. Now, heavy metal is different thing, but with heavy metal, when we're talking about bands like, say, Manowar or British heavy metal like, Iron Maiden, there is more kind of energy. And while it's not really extreme, like we know extreme metal, I think bands like Manowar are just kind of heavier and so much more metallic. Versus, when I'm thinking of metalcore, I'm thinking about bands which are kind of like we are heavier than rock, but we are not really ready to embrace metal as full. So for me, a lot of metalcore bands kind of sound a little bit more plastic or more like a metal band making compromises. And there is something in that songwriting which is like killing it for me. I mean, killing in the sense that I'm not interested in them. There is like this utter lack of danger. It's almost like metalcore is so much, for the lack of better word, I think it's so often kind of a Disneyfied. So metalcore is often, if Disney as a company wanted to invent metal music, that's how metalcore sounds to me. I don't find spikes and leather and piss and sweat and shit and drunken people, in metalcore. It's almost like, what you call it when you remove the balls from an animal, castrated. I feel metalcore is like castrated form of heavy metal. It doesn't annoy me. That's not the problem. But so far, I haven't encountered a single metalcore band that would be something like, fuck yeah, I love it. Obviously, there are lots of bands I haven't heard, so I don't really know, like, when you mention Botch or Converge, I only know Converge, for example, by name. I don't know if they are cool, but the bands I know, they haven't been interesting to me. So I haven't been, digging into them. And the question is why aren't you digging into them? Because I'm already always busy with review albums. So there is that. So if I feel a certain genre is kind of castrated, I don't find it's interesting. It's almost like those 0% alcohol beers. Why the fuck I would want a 0% alcohol beer? Yes, there are exceptions. Like whenever I take my car and go to a gig and I am supposed to drive back. Sometimes I make exceptions and buy 0 alcohol beers or ciders. But do I like them as much? No fucking way. So it's always a compromise. And metalcore to me is a lot of compromise. Do I like compromises? Fuck no. It's almost like, hey, you're in a relationship, but no sex. Why the fuck I would be happy about such a situation? If that happens, it happens, but it doesn't make me a happy person. Rick Dango is asking, what is the story behind my tattoos? Oh no, that's a long one. I'll try to make it quick. For instance, these two. What do you have here? Memento Mori means remember you're mortal or mortality. For me, it's kind of a way of saying live your life while you still can. You have this one life, make best of it because you might die anyway, anytime soon. In a way, the modern or old school version of saying YOLO, that is, you only live once. So remember that you're gonna die someday. It's very important that we are in touch with death, and there it is. Res non verba means things, not words, meaning actions speak louder than words. Now, I know it's funny and kind of ironic when it's been said by someone like me who talks a lot, who writes for a living and all that stuff. That doesn't mean it's going to change anything. I'll give you a good example. You know those guys who say, I will quit smoking cigarettes. And then they talk about it, but they never do anything about it. So I think stop first and talk later, or on like versus the other way around. So once again, instead of saying like, hey, I need to cut some weight, I should go to the gym, I should, probably start getting a job. Well, go to the fucking gym, start cutting your weight or whatever you're gonna do instead of just talk about it. Now, in my right calf, I'm not gonna strip any clothes down in case you're wondering why I'm showing it. On my right calf, I have this Ouroboros, that is snake in a coil, eating its own tail. Well, that's a classic symbol going back in ages in human history. For me, it reminds me of cyclic things, how things go in cycles in life. That itself is a strong metaphor to a lot of things. And it also says like, pain is weakness leaving the body, which is something that in a way I believe. When we feel pain, when we feel suffering, we also kind of are going through that phase that we're getting kind of a stronger. That applies very much to sports in a way, but also mental strength. So when we are suffering, it's also reminding us that this is not a permanent stage or moment. You are gonna, go through that pain, and you will come out as some kind of a better, more maybe resilient version of yourself. Then it says devotion here and discipline over here. Now, I like to think these two are for outsiders, kind of my message to tell what I think about the world, mortality and actions. These two are more like to myself. Discipline very much is related to self-discipline. So when I feel like lazy and I feel like, oh, maybe I shouldn't give a damn about this and that, this is reminding me like, remember always to have that willpower to get things done. Discipline that will go through a lot of shitty things. But this devotion also is more like love, dedication, not just this rational side of things, Well, discipline might be the thing like you need to focus. Just forget all about the pussies and the drugs and the drinks and all that good stuff. Discipline is like that mentality that you need to do something shitty or boring or whatever to get to your goal. Devotion is also this kind of human side. You have to be devoted, things like passion. You have to have this burn in your heart. So it's almost like you could say rationality and human emotions in a way. So kind of a multi-layered thing. On this side of my shoulder, I have Thor's hammer, which is very much like me going back to when I was a kid, learning about Viking stories, when I was finding about these archetypes like Loki, Thor, Odin, and so forth. So for me, getting information and knowledge about these Viking gods, much like Greek gods, was more like I understood that these are archetypes. Like Thor would be this protective guy, strong guy, maybe not a smart guy, but he had a good in a right place. He would go through the hardships of life and kind of try to protect those who needed to be protected Everybody chooses their own tribes and families, be it friends or whatever, their kids or parents or spouses. I don't get to say whatever is important to every other person. But Thor was protecting mankind, for instance. So his job was to, well, protect humans. So for me, that kind of attitude taught me a lot of things. I need to be able to protect myself, but also the people who are important to me. But it was also about, being honest and true to yourself. So Thor was like this archetype of many good things I wanted to have in me. But it's also very much just like how much I love the Viking stories. Now, on this side of the body, on my right shoulder slash biceps, triceps area, I have this Annihilator's Bullet Chaos logo, which was my first tattoo. And that tattoo is, basically a chaos star. Something that is always resonated with. I mean, chaos in so many ways. Because, well, universe is kind of a chaotic place. Things can go into lots of directions at the same time. So there is this kind of a respect slash fear for whatever chaos is. It's always been very, very tempting as opposed to something that is clearly pure order. It's made of bullets because it is annihilated symbol. So it was kind of a putting together themes of war, violence, and chaos. So kind of a dead metallic, but also black metallic. It's time. Now there is a text around this bullet thing going on here, which is "Si vis pacem para bellum." If you want peace, prepare for war, which is kind of related to these other tattoos like discipline or pain is a weakness leaving the body, which means it goes back to the Machiavelli from Italian slash Roman history, and basically, if you want to be left in peace, you have to show to other people that you're strong enough not to be fucked with. So it's kind of about self-preserving. It's about self-defense. And mind you, I have trained martial arts for more than 25 years now. And I think it's very important, being physical shape, be it power and strength, but also other physical capabilities to, defend yourself and your family, your loved ones. So it's kind of like one of those things, those ideas that I think everybody should have, like protect yourself and show everybody else that you're not afraid to, defend yourself. You need to be something that cannot be attacked without consequences, if that makes sense. And finally, on my left calf, on the outer side of calf, there is this Atlas tattoo. Atlas being the Titan who is holding the whole earth on his shoulders. And that's a very much a mythological creature, much like this Ouroboros or this Viking hammer. And Atlas is just also representing powerlifting. It's a strong figure, the symbol of powerlifting. But for me, it's also about responsibility, what Atlas had. He was basically suffering under the under the weight of the world. He was just holding it together. And when he once could take a break, he was soon quickly cheated again to, carry the whole planet on his shoulders, which is kind of a tragic story. But then again, Greeks are the masters of those, tragic stories when it comes to mythology and all. So, I like the Atlas idea, being strong Titan, to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders, which is kind of a huge responsibility. but also, like I said, it's a powerlifting symbol. So a lot of story to answer that one question about tattoos. I hope it makes sense. And when you people mention metalcore like being metallic hardcore, well, there is a thing. I never was too much into hardcore bands for two reasons. A lot of them were kind of too punky, and the second thing is they were too straight edge to talk to me. I mean, they were almost like, "Hey, we're too much about health and not doing drinks." And it was more like, "Hey, are you guys into Jesus as well? I don't give a fuck about your healthy lifestyle. I want to go into the world of metal. We can drink beers and worship Satan if we want to." You know, all those metallic hardcore guys, they were the kind of guys who would cut themselves, a nice Hitlerjugend haircut, who would just blend in nicely into the society when I was just going into the different direction. I wanted to be, I wanted to show my colors. I'm a metalhead. I don't fit into your worldview of establishment. And I will have my band shirt saying obscenities and all that stuff. I will surely show that my long hair is not compatible with normal society, with normal looking people, blah blah blah. For a lot of those hardcore people, they seem just too normal for me. So there's that. But obviously, yeah, of course, metallic hardcore is a little bit different than the bands of like metalcore of today. Morbid Mating was asking, "Do I have a personal favorite US BM band?" This is something that I've answered many times, and the answer is Abzu and Judas Iscariot. Um, Cold Blue Objects was here asking, "Do I gen harsh noise and power electronics live?" Yes. On albums, not so much. Um, Moosehead is a friend of mine. I really like the man. He's a very, very nice, cool person. I really respect the guy for a lot. But musically, I don't know if I'm into that kind of stuff. And, you know, for me, power electronics and harsh noise and all that stuff, it's cool when it happens live. I guess that's just into it. Oh, Miguel Prats was asking, like, "I'm Spanish here, hoping your reading is fine with you and family. Thank you." Dark times, yes. We are still really going through some dark times, that's for sure. Hello, Nocturne. Everything is quite fine here. How are you, man? And yeah, of course, Miguel, a healthy life is fine. It's great. Nothing wrong with being healthy and in good shape. I mean, I do go to the gym 4 times a week and try to do some powerlifting, and I still am a big fan of martial arts and all, but let's be honest about it. If I was just focusing on healthy lifestyle, it wouldn't be very compatible, with more, say, dangerous side of metal music. I want to be able to do it both. Yeah, Agent Robocock, I'm not saying that everybody and their aunts in hardcore music are straight edge and all that stuff. But like I said, that's the side I got to know. So when I was learning about those bands. They were not musically that interesting to me, and also a lot of those bands seemed just a little bit too boring. I'm not saying it's the whole story, obviously, but it's just different than thrash and death metal, black metal, so forth. Nocturne, don't worry about it, the email conversation. We're still stuck with the thing about me unable to send you the CD. It's still here with me, by the way. Your CD is still resting on my desk. And when I can, I will email it to you. But at the moment, it's still impossible. Oh yeah, time for another beer. This is soon done. Guys, remember to drink some water, but more importantly, drink alcohol with Rauta. No, Nocturne, you didn't come across angry or ungrateful. No, no worries, no problem. And besides, I'm not that easily hurt anyway. All right, the next beer in line is very atypical beer. It's Pina Colada Pastry Sour. Pineapple, coconut, milk, sugar, and mixed fermentation. 5.0 in strength. Now, you've seen me drinking this quite a few times. It's actually one of my favorite beers these days, coming from Finland. It really tastes like pina colada, but it's not a cocktail, but a beer. Very pale, very tasty. All right, and now I have to write to my friend at Mallasepat what I'm sipping here. How much we've been running the stream. All right. God damn, this is good. Well, Markus, that would have been something, some kind of a tattooing having that straight edge machine. Miguel, yes, I know immigration can be a big problem to a lot of places. Cold Blue Objects, it's easy to visit Mikko's shop. If you mean Mikko Aspa's shop, you just go to Lahti and that's it. Yeah, Nocturne Weed is good choice also. Well, Morbid Maniac, at least you have lots of good beers in the United States as well. Miguel, it's all about finding a good alcohol. Much like, it's easy to say, I don't like music, but you do like good music. I don't like alcohol, but you like good alcohol. I don't like girls. Well, you will like good hot girls. There's a difference. I mean, the world is filled with mediocrity. Whether we're talking about video games, music, food, people, there's a lot of mediocrity. And when you encounter mediocrity, it's easy to say, I don't like it. Hey, I don't like mediocrity either. Doesn't matter if it's mediocre black metal. I'm not gonna like it. Not a lot anyway. And there's a lot of mediocre Booze. I am not into mediocre booze. I mean, getting wasted can be fun every now and then. I don't get wasted often. But that's why I like to have these crazy good drinking beers. These just taste so much better than any of the soft drinks out there, you know. HB Diction, who are you referring to when you say you should tell them chat says hi? Agent Robocock, I don't doubt your words about hardcore is monolithic or whatever. Of course, there are lots of different kind of people. I'm just saying that my experience with hardcore hasn't been something that I would say I'm interested in it. Maybe someday I will find some cool hardcore bands and all that stuff, but you know, so far I haven't been got too much into that stuff. Mojitos are some really good drinks. Morbid Maniac. Yeah, a lot of people obviously ask if I'm a fan of From Software. Well, I put it this way: I do like their aesthetics. I don't like what they do with difficulty. Elden Ring is still far from being finished. I gave up with Bloodborne after three bosses. Recently, I bought Dark Souls 3, and it seems for the second time. So there's something that kind of allures me in, and then I have Demon Souls already, the remake on my PlayStation. You know, so I guess there's some attraction, but Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, they're all always like those kind of difficult women. I'm attracted to them, but in the end, I will end up hating them or disliking them. Rick Dango, the funny thing, I recently got, um, LP and CD from the band Victim from Germany. So I reviewed their second album, and that review is getting out soonish. Let me see. On my calendar, Victim is coming out on 11th of February. LP and CD, the review that is. That's a good question coming from Gold Blue Objects. Of all the artists you reviewed, who is the last band you'd want to be in a street fight against? I'm going to guess Blood Chalice, and actually, it's a fucking good guess. For first of all, a couple of reasons. Well, for example, their drummer is a black belt judo guy, so I would probably get my ass kicked by him alone. And also, he's a big guy, not to mention Bessie, the vocalist. So, Blood Chalice would be probably the first one to be the last band I would want to be a street fight against. Now, if I'm thinking of other bands, I don't know, man, because most bands are not in, good shape. They don't seem dangerous when it comes to their physical form. So I guess Blood Chalice would be the answer. I really can't, figure out names would be more suitable. So let's keep that in as the suggestion. Oh, H.P. Dixon is mentioning something about my email. Okay, let's see about it. I'll give my email. I don't know. What's supposed to be in my email? Uh, I don't see anything in particular in my email about anything. So maybe Dixon, I'm missing out something or misunderstood something. Nocturne was asking if I do like noise at all. Probably live, not so much. Uh, you know, albums. No. Well, I don't find Judah particularly dangerous. Or well, blasphemy. They're big guys at least. Yeah, Marcus, that rake comparison about from software that is pretty accurate. Yeah, Miguel, I've read about Ninja Gaiden games and their the difficulty. Now the thing here is, I mentioned this many times, but I keep repeating myself here. First of all, I got my dose and beyond for boss fights when I was playing World of Warcraft for 6 years. Now, during those 6 years, I faced so many boss battles that it was at some point I felt like I'm not doing anything else except boss battles all the time. And there was this boss called Cthulhu, which was kind of a Cthulhu if you really think about it. And I think we tried to get that boss down for 6 weeks. 6 weeks, every evening, well, almost every evening, we would go on this World of Warcraft raid. We would get our 40 people around, and, that would be crazy. We would spend hours and hours, first cleaning out what we call to thrash, and then getting to the next boss, to the next boss, to the next boss, so we could practice uh, fighting this boss. And it was so frustrating to spend so much hours and time and all that stuff, getting down that one boss. I mean, it felt super great once we finally fucking did it. But, I don't know, maybe it killed my passion to downing bosses. And secondly, real life is just kind of a too much of that same thing all over again. I mean, when I go to the gym, I feel like I'm always fighting the boss fight. I'm always grinding, to get better. And then there's this one rep max attempt, which is kind of like boss fight. And when you fail at that, you're like, okay, go back for many months to, uh, grind again. And work, obviously, family stuff. I mean, it's just one fucking From Software game all over again. So what I'm saying here, when I play video games, I want to be relaxing. I don't want to feel frustrated. So that's why I'm not big fan of that From Software approach to difficulty. You know. Yes, Agent Robocock, I am very aware that pixel art is an art form, just like photorealistic graphics. But it's not the kind of stuff I'm enjoying too much. And like I mentioned, I'm very much into open world games, and that means more like 3D. So mostly pixel art games are not really giving me that. Now, if you consider Minecraft pixel art game, then I could say, yeah, that's pretty nice pixel art because I mean it's kind of like a Lego bricks in a fucking game, but at least it has this open world aspect with the blocks and everything, and that's cool. But when it comes to pixel art with platforming games, no, that's not my thing at all. So I'm more into games like, well, be it from software or be it Assassin's Creed, or like my favorite games from Rockstar Games, GTA, Red Dead Redemption. That's the stuff. Anthony Benny was asking, do I listen to the band Thigh Antichrist? I remember that band, but I'm not actively listening to that. Well, Nocturne, I've met Cheyenne from Trivax a few times. He's a very nice guy and all that stuff. Uh, he's somewhat buff, but I mean, what's there to be afraid of Cheyenne? I mean, he doesn't seem dangerous. Maybe it's just my perspective. Nicholas Quarfort from Shining is more known for being unstable, but that doesn't mean he's um, that much of a, I don't know, danger. I don't know. And Rob Hellfire, well, that the fact that some people is jacked doesn't mean it's gonna be dangerous. I mean, long distance runners tend to be jacked. Does it mean they are dangerous just because they're like low fat and So, sorry, Rob, but you're not really convincing me in that sense. I mean, I've fought with a lot bigger guys, and they're not often jacked. But these bigger guys, oh, when you combine strength and mass, it gets difficult. Miguel, I actually had quit playing World of Warcraft by the time Mist of Pandaria came out, so I never got to explore World of Warcraft after Cataclysm. And when you're talking about these metalheads versus hardcore guys being aggressive, I think it's more an American thing rather than in Europe. Uh, when you go here for a show, you don't feel you're gonna end up in a fight. I guess that tells more about us as audience than anything else. Morbid, I know the game Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, but it kind of flew past me back in the days it was released. And when I saw those Nioh games you're talking about, I saw the trailers. They didn't, get my attention. I didn't like what I saw. You know, Rep Hellfire, I've actually met those tutor guys. I interviewed them a few years ago. So I know what you mean, but, meeting them person to person, I mean, let's just me be honest here. I've met so many others, people who seem more, I don't know, dangerous, if that makes sense. Yeah, Nocturne Shaitan is a very, very nice, smart person. I like him, and he's a smart person to talk to. So definitely uh, something that you as a musician would like to be interviewed by. He used to be a big fat ass, to be honest. I think he has posted some really interesting photos of his past when he was just a fat ass, and now he's kind of lean. So yeah. Yeah, Konkari, exactly. Fights at Finnish metal festivals is really, really rare. And I remember this Canadian gal who came to Finland in 2019, I think. She was active Rauta follower at the time, and she told me that the shows in North America were so much more aggressive when it comes to audience as opposed to what happened in Finland. But I don't know. I don't have personal experience. I've never been to a metal show in the United States. Okay, Miguel, that guy from Dillinger Escape Plan, well, that sounds crazy. Yeah, good. And I don't doubt there are crossovers between different scenes because, of course, there are. I mean, punk and black metal, even punk and death metal, even more. Always been kind of a crossover in so many ways. And yeah, Marcus, definitely cultural differences. I remember this was like 20 years ago. I was at this Rotten Sound gig in Helsinki or something, and there were like these hardcore moshers, and obviously somebody would be like, you know, pushing around and kind of waving their hands. So at some point, I just kind of rose my elbow like this because I know somebody was making too many violent moves, and I think somebody, actually hurt his head or something because I was just, putting my elbow up, and that's pretty much when the pushing around towards me ended, or that's at least how I remember it to be. But I mean, yeah, in Finland it's quite rare when you would meet up people at shows going too much pushing around and all that stuff. Yeah, Nocturne, that's crazy. And I think it's also stupid when people are getting into those things when they're seeing bands, live. Oh, Mikkel, I have heard of that kind of a shit throwing stuff in Finland. I remember in one of these black metal events, one band or more like people outside the band threw some shit into the audience, and there was a little bit of outcrying because of that. Hello, Marcel. Well, Robocock's um, location seems pretty nice. Quebec, but also 5 minutes from New York State's border. Cool. Well, Rick, I've met Eric from Vatine a couple of times, and I think he was a cool, solid dude. Uh, what can I say? He seemed smart, more like a thinking person when you see him like face to face. Yeah, Marcus, this shit showing was a Power Electronics show. Yeah, Rob Hellfire, and that's because Mortus from Marduk and Funeral Mist, he's an ex kickboxing guy, competitive one too. Yeah, Agent Robocock, I know about Quebec BMC, and it's pretty good. Um, Herded, I don't know if I will be shooting a video inside the Steelfest store. We shall see when I go that far. Miguel Prats, why the difference between throwing blood or pig meat? Mm, Rick Dango, I've been in fights, not too many times, but I've been, but not in late years. Congar, yeah, good to know. Actually, we just ordered some stuff from Steelfest store. You know what? I'm getting tired and I kind of want to play. can can we make the final question so I can start game streaming? Miguel. Yeah, you know, there are not many bands throwing you some pork meat. They would probably eat that pork meat instead of throwing it around. Maybe a band should start throwing it out some jamon serrano. Nocturne, you have to understand that power and muscles go hand in hand. So you would probably want to do both. Maybe not at the same time, but you have to understand that muscle means more power, and usually by the time you get more power, you also get more muscle. So if you are kind of a, I don't know, slim guy, first of all you need to up your calorie intake, and then you also need to start lifting. Bye, Rick. Miguel, I'm actually coming to Spain in 2 weeks. And yeah, I know jamon serrano is delicious. I lived in Spain for almost 6 months 3 years ago. That's a funny taping, Rauta metal, because Rauta means frozen ground. Um, I don't have any specific take on what time retirement. I mean, they do that what they do. If they retire, gracefully, fine with me. I hope they don't make a stupid, overly commercialized thing about it. No, Marcos, what time informed that they will retire when they turn 30. So that is like 2028 or something like that. So a couple of years more to come, which I guess means one more album and then some touring. Nocturne, if you're already 150 kilos, around 168 centimeters, what can I say? Uh, you have all the calories inside you already. You can just, make longer sets. It helps you with losing weight, but also helps you to make gains with power. Um, I think you should have different kind of a planning for the power season as well as the uh, you know kind of hypertrophy season. You know, so maybe do like something like 4 or 3 to 4 months of like for example hypertrophy, and then you could change it for your more like powerlifting kind of a thing. Yeah, Miguel, I've seen Enslaved on 4 different decades. Wonderful live band. Uh, and Kolokas was asking my opinion for Tatenblad's last album. I didn't listen to it. And yeah, metric system is the best. Yeah, Nocturna, I think if you're a big guy already, I think you should focus now on building more muscle, more hypertrophy. So, something like from 8 to 12 reps per move for most things like squats, bench press, deadlifts, and all that stuff. You could even try it for like 3 sets of 8s, and then if you can add some extra reps so you can go for like 10. If you can go for 12, then you're probably getting it too easy, and then add a little bit weight to the next session. Always make notes how your progress goes, and try to have equal amount of upper body as well as lower body exercises. So, for example, if you go for like 3 times a week, I think kind of a push, pull, legs program might work very well for you. So you have one day for pushing, like bench press, overhead press, um, doing triceps and stuff like that. Uh, then you would have one day for like pulling, like upper back, also like this way, like I don't know, you're not probably doing chin ups, but various pulling movements. And then third day would be legs, which is something like deadlifts and squats. And you know there's so much things to do. You can pretty much Google PPL, or push pull legs, kind of a program. So I think you should definitely check out that kind of a program, Nocturne. Hello, Tia. Nice to have you here. Morbid Maniac, have a good evening, you too. Yeah, Nocturne sounds like a good progress. Yeah, Miguel, the thing is, I have so many albums in my review pile, as well as on my list. So maybe someday I will find time for those bands, but at the moment I'm focusing pretty much doing my physical review copies first, and the rest of my time pretty much goes for listening to the bands I'm preparing to interview. Like lately, I've been listening to Sentinex albums before Death Worship interview and Fides Inversa interview. I was listening to albums, or more like releases, by Death Worship and Fides Inversa. So that's what I've been lately doing, reminding me of the music by these bands I've been interviewing. But physical review copies always go first, like these babies here. I have still about 50 CDs and vinyl, mostly CDs. For review. Hey, you know what I forgot to do? God damn it, people! Why come you didn't mention? I wanted to do a giveaway, and the thing here is, I got a bunch of CDs to give away. Thing here is, I've forgotten to do a lot of those lately. Like last stream, I was supposed to do one giveaway because I got these CDs, and some of them have been here for a while. So maybe we'll do a couple of giveaways this time. I have this pile of CDs which are meant for giveaways anyway. So I'm gonna put some couple of CDs here, and now I need to just figure out what I'm gonna ask from you guys. And where the fuck I did put that one CD that was stored for later. The Death Worship one. Oh, here it is. That one I won't be giving away. Normally it's saved for something else. So to give away CDs, what do I need to ask you guys. Agent Robocock, no, I don't collect anything these days. I don't collect games, I don't collect CDs, I don't collect music. I just decided not to collect anything. How do I feel about electronic music? Well, it totally depends on the given artist and what kind of music we're talking about. There are some good electronic music and there's definitely lots of bad ones. But now we're steering towards the end. It's almost 2 o'clock in the night and I want to spend my last hour of today spending with video games which I want to stream. But first I have a couple of CDs I figured out I should do a giveaway with. Both are some digipacks that have been here for a while. Questions. All right. I'm gonna think about it. All right, people. First question. Mention one of the first bands Rauta ever interviewed. And that's pretty much of the only tip I'm gonna mention. If you can guess the very first I'm thinking of, you will get the CD right away. If you can mention one of the very few, say like let's top 5, you will get one of the CDs here. Then I'm still thinking for another one because I have 2 CDs here which I'm gonna give out this time. Inquisition, not even a close one. That came years later. So one of the very first ones. This was in 2017. No, Asakal, it happened 2019 if I'm not mistaken. I'm testing here about the old fans. Paratrum was 2018, so it doesn't count. You know, you could really find the information on Rauta's links if you got the Archcode was 2018. Nope. Primordial was something like 2019. Nope. You could really find the information easily if you had been checking out the links I've shared on Rauta's videos or Discord. Because the information is right there. Well, hey, you can cheat if you feel like, but I don't consider it cheating if you have the information. I'm testing how well you know the ways to get information. Like my teacher back in the day said, it doesn't matter how much you know, it matters how you get to know the information. Cut up counts, because cut up was one of the very, very few ones. Satanic War Master was 2018, but cut up was from 2017. Northbound. Choose one of the CDs here, and I will mail it to you. Let's call it the black and white one or the gray one. Carpathian Forest would have won, but Northbound was faster. So sorry, Tia, not this time, but your answer is precisely correct. Sargeist was 2019, so not even a close one, but Northbound already wins one of the CDs. So Northbound, which one? The black and white one or the gray one. Gorgorod never replied to interview requests. So that doesn't count. Alright, Northbound, black and white. I will mark it down for you. Just send me email. I will now write a note on a piece of paper that this is your CD. And then I will mail it to you. Oh, where's my pen? So, Northbound will win this CD. As you can see, this is something that I have reviewed previously. I have 2 copies of this one, or had. So this is the other one. But people, don't be scared. There's at least like 10 CDs to be shared with the later streams. I tried to do another stream with giveaway. Here it even says Northbound. So he's getting this one. Beheksen, by the way, never also did interview, so that doesn't count. Congratulations, nerd. Well, nerds are the winners here. Yes, these are underground bands. So we have this Lost Harvest CD up for grabs. What should I ask? Okay, this is an easy one for a lot of people and a hard one for those who have no clue. Mention 2 first events where Rauta did interviews. 2 first events where Rauta did interviews already early in the days. Enslaved I have interviewed 2 times, and the first one was like 2019, so no, that is not among the first ones. Northbound, you know how to act. Just email me your address and I will mail it to you. I will accept 3 different answers for my question about the first events. 2 events. Steelfest is 1. And Steelfest and Tuska. There it is. Tia wins. So there is some justice to it. Never been to Apocalyptic Rites, by the way. So there is that. Tia, are you by any chance coming to Turku Saatanalle? Because if you are, you will get this gift right there. Well, Turku Saatanalle wasn't among the first ones, so it doesn't count. Tia said Steelfest and Tuska. Tuska and Steelfest 2017 were among the 2 which happened. So Turku Saatanalle was in 2018, but Rauta pretty much started with Steelfest 2017. Rauta's prior thing was already in 2016. So 2016, Turku Saatanalla was done before Rauta started. That was the tricky part. But Steelfest, Tuska, and I think Dark Days of Helsinki 2017 were among the first one. All right, Tia. If you want me to mail the CD to you, that can happen. I can also give it to you at Turku Saatanalla if you want to. Yes, Agent Robocock, thanks for taking care of me. This will be the last beer of tonight. After this stream, or in a few minutes, I will start up my PlayStation 5 and I will do about 1 hour of game streaming and all that stuff. Yes, J Killer's Moon TV was what happened before Rauta in 2016, and that's when Turku Saatanalla happened also. So Tia, you decide if you want to have this CD mailed to you before Turku Saatanalla. If not, I will give it to you right there. And that Nocturne thing, that fucking tree thing is by the Baratrum guy, but that was 2018. Yes, Nocturne, it's Janne Sova from Baratrum. Alright, Tia, we can do it at Turku Saatanalla. We shall celebrate our drinks and all that stuff. This time, both CDs went to some Finnish audience. So, but everybody, glad you participated. I probably could have come up with better questions had I remembered in advance that I wanted to do 2 CD giveaways. But guys, I have something like, I don't know, maybe around 10 CDs to give away. These are the kind of stuff that I have reviewed, but for a reason or another, I've gotten double copies. So there are some cool black metal ones and whatever for giveaways. So there's plenty to give you. And by the way, there's gonna be a Death Worship giveaway with some autographs. I'm gonna show it to you here. And when that Death Worship interview video is gonna be announced, pay attention for this one. This is gonna be up for among the fastest for grabs. So now you just know. Oh, sorry to hear that, Markus. Too bad you're not coming to see our show. Oh, oops. All right. Good night, Nocturne. And Rob Hellfire, once again, thanks for joining in. And thanks for your donation. Now, people, I will now fire up the next stream on PlayStation for some gaming and some whiskey and shit. And let's talk about the next stream. Let me see. The next stream should be, assuming I'm around here, it should be happening on the 7th of March. And hold on. I'm putting some dates here so I will remember. If I don't mark them down on my calendar, it will be forgotten. All right. Now, those things written in my calendar, I should be able to proceed. Yes, that's. I think the Dead Worship interview is so far the most interesting coming out of this year so far, and we'll see what happens. All right, guys, and I won't be playing too long. It's already 2 a.m. in Finland, so I'm thinking 1 hour because I need to wake up eventually tomorrow, and then there's band rehearsals and you know what's going on. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me for the stream for a couple of beers. I'm already a little bit tired, but not too tired to game on. Those who want to chat more, join the stream in a few minutes for some gaming and talking and whiskey. But that's all for this stream anyway. Thank you. Now I want to wish you a good night, good day, whatever it is in your respective time zone. Catch you later and see you next stream.